What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel, and it's time for another game preview / game prediction for the 2023 college football season. And our next game preview / game prediction will be Week 1's matchup between the Clemson Tigers and the Duke Blue Devils. A big-time game coming up here, especially when when you have a conference game coming up, in your first weekend of college football. This game's not on a Saturday or pretty much on a Sunday or anything like that, or on a weekday for, pretty much, next week in college football. It's going to be pretty much on a Monday night. It's going to be a Labor Day game. We'll give you the game summary in just a little bit, but Clemson versus Duke here, a big-time matchup here to open up ACC play. Of course, when there's no divisions in the ACC this year, we're going to give you a game preview of this game. We're going to give you the stats for both of these teams from last year, and then we'll, of course, go through the game summary of what time the game will start and who the favorite going into this game will be. And then after that, we're going to give you pretty much the keys to the game for both of these teams to win this game. And then, of course, we'll give you a prediction and how the game will go down for both of these teams. So Clemson versus Duke here. Let's get right into it here with our game preview / prediction for the Clemson Tigers and the Duke Blue Devils. So we'll start here with the stats for both of these teams. Starting with Clemson stats, they were 11-3 last year in 2022. So Clemson's coming off an up-and-down year, but they won the ACC championship last year at least, so it really wasn't like a bad season for Clemson. It just really was up and down for them. Points per game last year, 33.2 points per game last year for this Clemson team. You look at the total yards per game, they were 410.3 yards total yards per game last year. So again, the offense wasn't bad for Clemson. It just had ups and downs last year, but other than that, the total yards were still good, I believe, for Clemson. And then passing yards, 231.9 yards per passing last year. Clemson, had a little bit of quarterback change in over the, course of the season with DJ Ogilvie, and then, of course, Caleb Klubnik came in there a little bit sometime or another. Caleb Klubnik, I believe, stepped up for the ACC championship game, and then DJ Ogilvie now transferred away from Clemson, so I think that's the reason why he transferred away for this Clemson team. And you look at the rushing yard numbers. Last year, Clemson only rushed for about 178.4 yards per rushing last year. I think this Clemson team was definitely focused on passing the football a little bit last year, but again, the offense just really was up and down for Clemson. But I think, this running team should be pretty good this year. They have a lot of talented running backs on this roster, and they should really be, maybe one of the top rushing teams in the ACC this year, maybe besides Florida State. I think that rushing attack's going to be pretty good for Clemson this year. And then offensively in the rankings last year, they were 48th on offense, and then defensively, they were 28th last year on defense. So Clemson stats, again, last year they were good on the defense, but offensively they were ups and downs at times. You look at the Duke Blue Devils here, their stats from last year. They went 9-4 last year. They were definitely a surprise team. A lot of people are picking this Duke team, to finish last in the, ACC Coastal Division. You look at the points per game last year, they averaged about 32.8 points per game. Total yards per game, 415.7 yards per total yards per game. And this offense was really good at times. This offense really got ahead of steam going into the year. And, this offense got better down the stretch as well for this Duke team. Passing yards per game, 231.5 yards per passing. They have a pretty good quarterback for Duke. Rushing yards, 184.2 yards per rushing. I think Duke's going to be a pretty strong running team. We'll see what they look like going into this game against Clemson's defense. And then offensively, you look at the rankings there, 44th on offense, just ahead of Clemson in the rankings on offense. And then defensively, they were well behind of Clemson at 67. So overall, the defense and offense wasn't bad for Duke. I think the defense is going to be so much better this year with all that experience coming back for them. And looking at the stats comparisons between these two teams, of course, Clemson coming off a really good season, and then Duke also coming off a really surprising year. Points per game is almost pretty total even. Total yards per game, Duke with an advantage there by 5 yards. Passing yard numbers are both pretty similar. Rushing yard numbers, Duke with an advantage there, and then, of course, Duke has the advantage on offense. But other than that, these are the stat comparisons between these two teams, and I think Clemson has a better defense than Duke from last year, but we'll see going into this game once we head into pretty much this Labor Day game coming up in about a week and a half. So let's now go into the game summary here between these two teams. Clemson ranked number 9 in the country in the AP poll. I had Clemson at number 10 in my top 25 poll. Duke is going into this game unranked. I didn't have Duke, ranked in my top 25 either. But if they win this game, they're definitely going to be ranked in my top 25 if they do beat Clemson here. This game's going to be at 8 o'clock Eastern Time on September the 4th. This is an ESPN-type game, so I really, don't think that's a really big surprise there. A lot of people thought this would be probably an ABC-type game, but it's definitely an ESPN game. They're at least giving Duke some love here, from what they did last year. But the one thing I don't really agree with is how Clemson is favored by double digits. They're a favorite going into this game by 13 points. That really surprises me as of right now. But that number could change by the time we get into almost kickoff. Again, college football starts this weekend, but also the real season starts next week. So this number could change. But again, Duke has home field advantage in this game. I really don't see why Clemson is favored by double digits in this game. Maybe it's because they're a top 10 team, and they're probably just thinking that Duke is not going to have a chance. I think Duke is going to have a big-time chance to upset Clemson in this game. They got all that talent. They also got the experience, coming back this year. The over and under also at 56. They're kind of, calling it a back-and-forth game a little bit, a low-scoring type game as well. I agree with the over and under. I mean, it could be in the 60s, but I think, I really do agree with the over and under here. It could be a low-scoring type game, but in my opinion, I'm kind of seeing, a high-scoring game between these two teams. I know both defenses should be pretty good, but I think Clemson and Duke are both pretty similar on the defensive side of the football. But again, I just don't really agree with that line. I really don't agree Clemson being a 13-point favorite. I think this is definitely an upset alert type game. I mean, hopefully this number probably will change by the time we get into next week or anything like that. But again, I think Duke has a pretty good shot to beat Clemson here. I really don't say – I'm not saying they're going to win or anything like that, but I think Duke has a really big shot to knock off Clemson in this game. Again, this game's at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, so it's a late-night Monday night game. And also it's on Labor Day on that Monday, so – and it also is an ESPN-type game. Again, Clemson favored by 13 points. I know a lot of people probably won't agree with that number either, so that's the game summary for this game coming up on September the 4th between Duke and Clemson. Let's now get keys to the game here for both of these teams. For Clemson, number one key is to take care of the football. We saw Clemson turn the ball over a lot last year on offense. And then number two is offense has to be a factor in this game. We got to see Clemson take care of the football, especially with Caleb Klubnik back at quarterback now. It's his full-time start as a 12-game, quarterback and everything. If he takes care of the football, Clemson could be a very dangerous offense. But if he throws a lot of mistakes this year, Clemson definitely going to have, ups and downs on the offensive side of the football again. But offensively, they have to be a factor in this game. Again, they have to really keep that Duke defense on the field for as long as possible. That way their defense can be strong for them. And again, that's the key there in this game. Defense has to be strong for Clemson in this one. I mean, Clemson's defense is, pretty much, a top defense heading into the country this year. They were definitely one of the top defensive teams, last year in the ACC, maybe besides Florida State. But again, this Clemson defense has to be strong. They have to be a factor in this game as well. So those are the keys to the game here for Clemson. Again, I think the most important key for them is to take care of the football. Again, we saw a lot of turnovers, committed in that Orange Bowl game. Clemson just really was inconsistent on the offensive side of the football. And then for the Blue Devils, they have to control the clock in this game. Their defense has to force turnovers, and they have to pressure Caleb Klubnik all game long in this game. I should say all night long because it is a night game, but I'm just going to say all game long in this one. Duke's defense has got a lot of experience on that side of the football. If they can pressure Caleb Klubnik all game long, keep Clemson, scoreless and keep him, from getting out of the end zone, Duke's going to win this game. If they can just pressure Caleb Klubnik, they're going to win this game, but they also have to force turnovers in this game. But I think their offense has to control the clock. Their offense is going to have to want to run the football in this game. They may pass it a few times, but I think Clemson's defense is just really good at stopping the run. I don't think, Duke can really run the football in this Clemson defensive line. But I think in the secondary, that's probably their weakness. So those are the keys to the game here for Duke. And these are the keys to the game here for both of these teams. Again, for Clemson, take care of the football. Offense has to be a factor. And then defense has to be strong. And then for Duke, it's control the clock with their offense, force turnovers, and then pressure Caleb Klubnik all game long here in this game. So let's now go into the prediction of how this game can go down here for Clemson and Duke. Clemson, like I said, favored by 13 points in this game. I don't think it's going to be a double-digit win for Clemson. I don't really see this game, being pulled away by Clemson either. Like I said, I think Duke has a chance to knock off Clemson in this game. I'm not really just, exaggerating. I'm saying that they have a really big opportunity to pull off an upset here in week 1. And plus, it's week number 1. Upsets happen in college football all the time. Duke has a really good opportunity to probably end Clemson's season right away. This is a game that Clemson has to win. If they're going to win this game, they're going to have to want to win this game in order to make it to the college football playoff at the end of the year. I really don't see Clemson making it in this year, but this is the game that they have to win in order to really, start to get momentum going into the rest of the year. How I think the game is going to go down, I think it's going to be a close game all night long between these two teams. Clemson, I think, will probably slow down Duke's offense a little bit in that fourth quarter. And yes, I think this game is going to go into the fourth quarter. I think, it's going to be a game that's, not going to be pulled away by some other team. I think Clemson, is not going to pull away in this game. Duke will stay right with them until the fourth quarter and everything. So with that being said, I think, Duke does compete for their whole game here, but I think Clemson comes away here on the road in Durham, North Carolina, and I think they knock off Duke here in a close one. My final score prediction is 35-31, so I'm calling this one a high-scoring game. I don't really see Clemson winning this game by 13 points or anything by 2 touchdowns or more. I think Duke's going to compete in this game, plus it's week number 1. I think Duke will be ready for this game. They will be focused, but I think Clemson, at the end of the day, they do survive a close one here. It's kind of one of those one-score type games where Clemson gets in trouble, and then they somehow survive those really close games. And I think Clemson does that in this game. But this is a week 1 game, and it's pretty much a tough one to call, but I think Clemson does defeat Duke here 35-31 by 4 points. And again, I don't really see this one being a double-digit win for Clemson. So give me your thoughts down in the comments below. What do you think about this game? Does Duke pull off the upset here, or does Clemson survive this game? And give me your final score prediction down in the comments below. And also, do you think it's a high-scoring game, or do you think this is a low-scoring type game between these two teams? Let me know down in the comments below, and stay tuned here for more sports content videos on my Lucas Ross Sports channel.